Super. BS.
Hey y'all, Brank here. Me and Donna are sitting down for a chat about an old game, I guess relatively old, Rise of the Tomb Raider. So we wanted to invite you guys to listen to our opinions. Donna, what do you think about Rise of the Tomb Raider?
It's great. I enjoyed it a lot. Common knowledge, it follows the exact same plot as The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
So Lara Croft is a Bruce Wayne type. She fears tombs, though, not bats. And yeah, there's got a Heath Ledger character in it.
It's everything.
And it's everything you want.
All the things you want. Did you get a chance to play the original Tomb Raider reboot in
Sure did.
2013?
I loved it. Yep. Yeah, I couldn't get enough of that. I played through, I 100%ed both of these games, actually. So I really enjoyed the gameplay. They reminded me of everything that I liked about Assassin's Creed, minus everything I hated.
I can see that.
So it's got really fun exploring. It's got meaningful hunting. More meaningful than Far Cry, which is a different game, but has a fun hunting system that's ultimately kind of hollow, but still fun.
Yeah.
It's got stealth, which is super fun to do.
Yeah.
Really just fun to do stealth. Stealth bow, stealth like sneaking up on guys and murdering them. All sorts of great violence there. Lara Croft's actually an interesting character. It's a lot more interesting than I remember in the PlayStation 1 era of Tomb Raider.
You mean Booby McBoob's
Yeah,
face?
Booby McBoobs. But she just, I don't know. I can't say that I've A, written a lot of female characters, or B, have any experiences as a female where I can say, hey, she's great. But I like her as a character.
Yeah.
And I like the backstory. I like where they're going with this. Something I like too about the story, without giving too many spoilers away, I guess it's not super relevant. The story actually is very similar to the first reboot, so they kind of follow a similar arc, with the difference being that instead of her being sort of, I guess it's kind of the same. She's sort of lost in this area after the traveling to a specific destination goes awry. This time it's in Siberia. She's looking for basically a artifact that is the source of immortality. And
what is it? What's it called?
The Divine Source? The
Divine Source, yeah. I recently I just forgot the name.
Yeah, and so she comes across some natives who have been living in Siberia somehow without freezing to death for an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
She also encounters Trinity, who I guess it sounds like were bad guys in the original Tomb Raider series as well.
I think they may have been hinted at.
Yeah.
But
Trinity is basically...
wait, do you mean the PlayStation 1 Tomb Raider series?
Yeah,
or?
I believe Trinity was a presence in those games as well. So I think they're redoing all of that in just a better way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Trinity is basically, they're like the Templars in Assassin's Creed, but they don't end up being possessed by aliens or whatever shit they do in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so something that I really enjoy from a plot perspective, besides the character development of Laura, you can she's kind of between this game and the last game, it's almost like a quest of vengeance that she learns to sort of you get choices at the end of the game where you can choose to kill someone or not, and it kind of is fitting for the character where she realizes she doesn't have to murder everyone.
Which I think you can.
You can,
I walked away too, but I think you could choose to murder everyone.
You can. So I'm interested in where they go with that. It's got great voice acting, of course, but something that I was going to bring up on the plot point. They do this thing that Assassin's Creed started to do in the olden days and then failed at doing, which is where they have this religious intrigue to it, the supernatural intrigue, you could even say. And they start the game off with a lot of myth busting, where Lara Croft is exploring these areas, and she's even in the downloadable content expansion, or the Baba Yaga, whatever.
Yeah, Baba Yaga.
Right, something like that. You go through fighting this legendary witch, and it turns out that she just uses this drug to poison everyone that comes into her domain, so they see visions, so everything they see is exaggerated and stuff like that. There's a lot of myth busting basically, where it's oh, this supernatural thing is not real. It's actually like just this misunderstood or just this misunderstood. So you think that that's kind of the stint of the game. Like there's no supernatural. It's just kind of like historical fiction in that sense, where it's like, oh, the lie was that there was no Jesus or something like, you know, Da Vinci Code or some crap like that. I know that's not the plot of Da Vinci Code, but either way, I'm pretty sure it sucks.
Da Vinci Code is similar to that. I do want to bring up, did you ever get a chance to play the Uncharted series?
No, but before we go into that,
Okay.
I want to make my point, which is that they seem to twist back and forth towards the end of these two Tomb Raider games, where eventually you do encounter supernatural that's unexplainable. And they don't even bother to fully explain it, which I think is good.
Yeah, we can do spoilers since this game is old.
Yes.
Are you talking about the horde of, like, the what are their names? Like, they're kind of like Mongolian-type people?
Well, that's in the first game.
They're in the second one, too. They go to Storm.
Those aren't the Mongolians. The Mongolians tried to raid the ancient city, but they came across the Deathless Army, which are basically Greeks.
Okay.
But yeah, it turns out the prophet that she's after is still alive and has been alive for centuries, and has somehow maintained like a form of immortality. And he's maintained a civilization in this geothermal valley within Siberia. He has an army of people that are basically undead or deathless. They're not quite zombies, but they can't die. And so they don't really...
Well, they can die. I killed a whole lot of them.
But yeah, but they come back.
Turn to dust or whatever, and then they
come back the next day. So,
yeah.
So they don't explain really how that works, that it's like God that created this artifact, or if it's like... They don't really go into it. It's just something supernatural that they can't explain in any other way. And I like that. I like that they don't have to like myth bust every single thing and be like, oh, like the prophet is, you know, he's not like some just guy that's from an older race of people that live long, or he's not like an alien or something like that. Instead, it's just kind of this ambiguous, like he had this divine artifact. There's lots of talk of these people that like serve God, probably monotheistic God, based on like, because it's all from, they like exiled out of Byzantine and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's really interesting to me. I'm looking forward to the next one. There's pretty clear evidence that it's going to take place in Mexico, mainly because at the end of the game, she's hopping on a plane with a map circled on her desk that has Mexico circled.
Where is that at the very end? Because I don't remember that. Is that after like credits or?
I'm pretty sure it was before the credits, because after the credits is the scene where it goes to 2 weeks earlier and then Anna dies.
Oh, okay.
Where she gets assassinated by Trinity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's before that. It's when she's back at home. She's in her dad's office, former office. She's with Jonah, the only surviving character basically from the last game, I believe. And well, I know her friend survived too, I think, but a lot of those people died.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's taking her to the airport to catch a plane, and then as she walks out the door, the camera kind of like zooms back onto her desk, and there's a map on it that has Mexico circled.
Real quick about that Anna death though, at the very end, I thought she was going to get defeated by, or like killed by the army of Deathless or whatever, because that was kind of what it led to. So it was a really strange scene when I saw her. I was like, wait, what's going on?
She didn't get, I mean, you can see that she didn't get killed by the Deathless, but you'd think maybe there's like some time required for the divine source to work, because she kind of tried to like activate it to make herself immortal or whatever, but then you destroyed it before it could really take over, I guess. But yeah, she reveals in that scene that her dad didn't kill himself, like is thought of, that Lara Croft's dad didn't kill himself, but he was murdered, not by her. Maybe you would think it was by Constantine.
Yeah.
Except he's already dead, and Trinity assassinated her before she could say who did it. It's probably not Constantine, because if it was Constantine that did it, it wouldn't really matter. He's already dead.
Yeah, Constantine's an interesting character because he's pretty much the primary antagonist. You know that Anna exists, kind of, and it's so many like, oh yeah, she's been gone, blah, blah, blah. You can tell what's going to happen. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. I like Constantine as a character. I especially like the dynamic that, because he's one of the first, like, well, not the first. He's kind of like, as the story develops, you see him as like the first major myth bust for Trinity, where he's like, he thinks that I'm going to stop using that term from here on out because I've used it too much already, but he thinks he's been given this divine mission by God. He has the stigmatas in his hands that like appear where his hands bleed and stuff like that. But then you find out that his sister Anna did that to him when he was like sleeping. to manipulate him into thinking that he was like chosen by God to do this mission. And yeah, so it's definitely interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Trinity as an organization, because they predate back to the original, like when this prophet business went down, when leaving Byzantine went down, going to Russia and all that kind of stuff. Trinity's been hunting them for that long. Some of the Mongolians that fight are part of Trinity. And there's basically all sorts of Trinity for centuries fighting this divine source. I don't remember if Trinity was a part of the last game.
I think they were hinted at, but
yeah.
because I actually never got to the end of the last game, so I couldn't say definitively. But
yeah, I don't remember who the forces were at there that were fighting. It's been a little bit since I've played that game, but I'll have to look into that.
There was a betrayal in the last one with
yeah.
like one of the guys on your party, and I believe he was working for someone, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Kind of like an older dude.
There was a betrayal. So I think it'll be interesting. It sounds like Trinity seemed very like singular focus in this. Like they've been after this prophet, this heretic prophet, for centuries to control this divine source and to prove that he's a false prophet, etc. But that whole storyline's closed. There's no more divine source. The prophet dies at the end, like willingly, because he's ready to like not be immortal anymore. So I'm wondering what Trinity's like next part of their master plan is, because they've been around for so long. Are there other divine sort of artifacts or mysterious artifacts that they're after? Now I'm just interested in what their end game is, or what their long term, because it made it seem like that was their end game. Like the whole point of Trinity was this organization to kill this prophet and end this, and like take control of this divine source thing, which has been done. But clearly Trinity's still around because they assassinate people at the end. So
yeah, this comes back to what I was asking earlier. Did you ever get a chance to play Uncharted?
No.
Just because so Uncharted handles similar stuff, but the reason why I bring this up during Trinity is I think Tomb Raider does it a lot better, because all of Nathan Drake's adventures are essentially one-offs, and there's no real connection between the villain every game.
Yeah.
But they also try to throw some type of supernatural thing, at least in 2 and I believe 1. They did. I never got to the end of 3, and I never got to the end of 4. It's not those games are much more cinematic, whereas Tomb Raider allows you to play the game. Like Uncharted often leads you on a road, and you kind of just follow the road and do what the game shows you to do. But I want to bring that game up because it definitely, when this reboot came out, like a lot of people were like, "Oh my goodness, this is pretty much Uncharted." But I find it funny how much more I actually enjoy it. Like, I've beaten 2 of the Uncharted games a long, long time ago. But since Tomb Raider's been rebooted, I've pretty much only beaten those. And I think a lot of it has to do with the continuing storyline, the idea, like you mentioned, how they do an Assassin's Creed style story where it does deal with the supernatural, but it's not, like, ridiculous, and it doesn't kill off the main person. Assassin's Creed 3 spoiler.
How similar is the gameplay? Not the exploration part of
in Uncharted,
because I know that it sounds like it's a little bit more on rails, but the actual physical gameplay.
So Uncharted was never really great at the gunplay. That's kind of its worst thing. In a lot of ways, the climbing was better in Uncharted than it was in the original Tomb Raider reboot. But in Rise of the Tomb Raider, they just nailed everything so much.
Yeah.
And unlike Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I don't mean to keep putting Uncharted down, but there's no like upgrading your weapons or any reason to go explore your environment.
Sure.
Like they even have one giant open area place in Uncharted where you're driving a Jeep around Africa. And it's pretty cool, but there's nothing to do. You just kind of look and you go to your place.
Yeah.
So as a game, Tomb Raider is much better, but as a story, they have very similar parallels. Just Uncharted is very character focused, where I feel like Tomb Raider, while it is character focused about Lara Croft, it's also about setting up a big plot that they can continuously use, which I think is great. I'm excited for the next Tomb Raider, which hopefully we'll find out about this year.
And it is really character focused in a different way, because it's developing this version of Lara Croft into a better version of the character that people were already familiar with.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, it's as cheesy as it sounds, it's like the Christopher Nolan version of this. It's got a lot of it's a little bit more intense. It's got a lot of practicalities. I mean, the old Tomb Raider games are notoriously challenging, and you die a lot. But it's not like, I mean, it's just like every little moment where if you don't time a jump super well and she almost falls, it's like all that stuff adds a lot of tension. And at this, the last game, it's like it's her first like outing basically. And then in this game, it's like she's trying to clear her family's name because her dad basically killed himself because no one believed his stories. Yeah. And then it seems like definitely with the third game onwards, she's going to have like a very clear identity of who she is. Or who she's becoming, so it'll be a lot more of like I'm Lara Croft, this is what I do kind of thing. So I'm interested to see how that will play out. I'm sure it'll come with tons of challenges and stuff like that. Something else that interests me more, I mean, I was never really interested in Uncharted, so I can't really give it like a fair shakedown because it just nothing about it ever made me want to play it.
Yeah.
Maybe part of that's the timing it came out in, but either way, I just don't really care for it.
It was very much, when it first came out, it was like a weird Gears of War style thing because it was mainly a cover shooter.
Right.
But it wasn't very good at being a cover shooter. And then it had this exploration stuff, whereas like I don't feel like Tomb Raider's the best at being a cover shooter.
No.
But I feel like it's really fun when you're sneaking up. Like the last battles I had were not my favorite. When you're just fighting through the narrow lines till you get to the final battle, like they're not great. It wasn't bad. Like I didn't hate it, but it wasn't like my favorite moments.
With all my upgraded weapons and stuff. It was pretty fun blowing through dudes.
But I just feel like that game's strengths are the stealth and all the other things, which Rise of the Tomb Raider came out 5 months before this, or 6 months, but Uncharted 4 finally started doing that, and it's good at stealth too. It's terrible at mainline gunplay, but its stealth is okay. And I thought that was funny that it seems like Tomb Raider Reboot kind of took a lot from the Uncharted playbook, but now Rise of the Tomb Raider, I know they're probably being developed at the same time, but it almost felt like Uncharted 4 was taking from the Rise of the Tomb Raider playbook, because it's like it has so many analogous like ideas.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you get a chance to play the Mansion DLC?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. It's basically the Tomb Raider version of Gone Home.
Yeah.
You explore, you learn about the beginning, middle, and end of Laura's parents' relationship, how they meet, how they fall in love, how they get married, how that all ends. And you learn about you kind of unlocking the secrets of her house, basically, because she inherited it from her dad.
But her uncle wants to.
But her uncle is a douche and wants to take it away. So you have to find. You're basically looking for some type of proof that you
get the house.
Yeah. But it's a lot of fun. They do it's. It's cool, and it's something that I think that Tomb Raider does really, really well is their collectible category.
Yeah.
They have lots of fun collectibles. They don't make them all so impossible to find that you just waste hours. They definitely they offer things where if you explore and find a map in some area, it will reveal to you certain types of collectibles within that area. So there's a lot of ways to kind of give yourself hints and stuff like that. But the specifically the journal documents, the logs, and those kind of things, they provide a lot of backstory, which is always really interesting. It's always relevant to the main story and the history of the area that you're exploring. If I was gonna, I almost don't want them to do this. But one thing that I think that could benefit would be almost like a BioShock thing, where when you find the audio log, it plays while you keep playing.
That's literally what I was going to suggest.
But even still, I find myself, generally speaking, listening to everything. If not, I'll read all of it just faster than it's acted out. But so that's a lot of what Croft Manor is. It's a lot of finding old documents and things like that. But it is fun.
Yeah, and I like it when people try new things. But I think BioShock did the audio log so well because you could still play the game and listen to what was going on. Whereas I would often quickly read the audio logs and not even listen to the great voice acting that they paid for all of the lore stuff. I also thought it funny because I feel like Tomb Raider Reboot had these same collectibles, and so essentially Middle-earth's Shadow of Mordor took that from them, because they have a very similar collectible system where you search the collectibles and you'll find stuff, and that stuff will kind of change it.
Yeah.
I just think it's such a great system that they put in place there. What did you think about the open world sections of this one? Because the original Tomb Raider Reboot was pretty much linear. It had like
It has sections.
It had sections. Not, I don't think it's like open world as this, where there are campfires that you'd often fast travel to.
There's campfires in the first one.
Would you fast travel to them?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is definitely areas you had to fast travel to if you wanted to explore everything. Because you always have to go back to areas when you unlock new abilities.
Yeah.
So this pretty much does the same thing, but slightly more, but also, importantly, not too much. None of the areas in Rise of the Tomb Raider are, like, annoyingly big.
Yeah.
Especially the last area. Good on them for putting the biggest two areas in the beginning and middle of the game.
Yeah.
And then having the last... There's several... more linear areas that also have explorables that you come back to with the campfires to get everything. But there's 3 areas that are like pretty big.
Yeah.
But the last one is significantly smaller than the other 2.
You're talking about the city, right?
Yeah, the Lost City, which is great because it's like, you don't want to come to what is supposed to be like the climactic story event of the game and then be like, oh, but I got to explore this place for 10 hours kind of thing.
And so many games do that.
Yeah, where it's like they put the biggest areas last. It's so annoying.
Yeah, I really do applaud them for doing that. I just love the way that they used the world. Like it was like you said, like a great size, and you go around, you could hunt the stuff that you wanted to find.
Yep.
And the upgrade system was great. And I liked how once you found stuff, the tombs. That's like one of my favorite parts of the game.
Oh yeah, those are great, fun puzzles.
Yeah, none of them were too challenging, but they were all challenging enough that it took me about between 10 and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And they give you a really cool reward at the end too.
Yep.
Yeah, that I thought that was one of the better things that they did. I don't remember the reboot very well, so I don't remember if the tombs were as good. I do remember.
Yeah, they're similar. They're good.
Yeah, man, I loved those tombs.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's like a lot of the things that this game does is not necessarily so much better than the original reboot. It's just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a few more tombs, there's a few bigger areas, there's a few more things to do, but they didn't mess with the formula too much. Nor did they overbloat it, which hopefully they don't do for the next one. That's the only thing that you don't know until it comes out. But
yeah, that's something that's interesting. Whereas, like, I am really excited for a third one, but if they keep this formula, they pretty much can only get away with one more. If they keep doing the same, like expanding and get your inventory and then upgrade your weapons, find tombs, so on and so on, I feel like they can only get away with one more doing this.
But what else can they do?
They might need to let the system take a break for a long while. Do you know what I mean? Like they did, because that was, I feel like, one of the biggest problems with the original series. A lot of people liked those originals a lot, 1, 2, and 3, and then it was Last Revelation, which I think it was the 4th one, where everything just seemed to start going downhill to the point where there was Xbox 360 games before the reboot that are hated.
Like Underworld and stuff.
Yeah, and it's I don't think those games are necessarily bad. But I think the idea was they kept doing that same formula.
Yeah, I don't know enough about those games to comment.
There's a free one right now, Games with Gold.
I know.
Yeah.
Pass. Because at the same, it's one of those things where I don't know what they can do differently. Because the formula they have is pretty compelling, and they don't have to. I mean, they can tighten things up, add new styles of weapons, or add maybe more of a melee combo system. They can do things like that. But I wouldn't, or they could change the game to one massive open area.
That could be cool.
That could be interesting.
If they had vehicles that would let you, a Jeep, that would let you travel around it.
Yeah, they could do that. Or they could do, but there's not a lot that they can change before it's a different game. I mean, it's they can't make it a 2D side scroller.
No.
They can't make it an RPG.
I don't even mean that. I just mean that one of, I think, Uncharted's biggest flaws was the fact that they should have stopped probably before 3. 1 and 2 were great, but their formula, and I mean, you gotta, I guess, have this because I guess the new one that came out in 2017 was supposed to be great because they finally added side quests and the ability, and that probably only happens through iteration. But I just think at some point,
this game, Rise of the Tomb Raider, has fun side quests too.
Yeah, and that's something that they did before the new Uncharted, and I think the new Uncharted took it from that, But what I'm saying though is iteration is good, but if I don't ever want to see this Tomb Raider series become Assassin's Creed was.
Sure.
Where
but
it was
I think for that,
it
would have to be yearly for that. I don't think Crystal Dynamics is a big enough team to pull that off anyway.
Yeah.
But nor should they want to. And Square has definitely different standards on things than like Ubisoft does or EA does, for example. Whereas like, even though they are a big company that's like to at least like a moderate extent like profit oriented, they're also totally different. Like the corporate part of that owns Crystal Dynamics is also Japanese. It definitely has like a different set of philosophies guiding it than say like, let's just be assholes like EA or something like that. So we'll see. But at the same time, you know, like it's like I mean, it's like any good thing. If they do one every 2 to 3 years, for the next, I mean, for a little bit before they change it up somehow. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things. I don't know how they can change it up because at some point, I think a lot of people that like Uncharted, I think that there's definitely like a fanboy element where it's like, oh, I'm a PlayStation worshiper. This is like the premier PlayStation Western game from Naughty Dog, who are the masters of terrible storytelling.
Storytelling's pretty good, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, just like it was in Crash Bandicoot. But
that was the first game.
But the point being is that I think a lot of people probably just like Nathan Drake and they like the story and they like the characters and they want to see what happens with that. So for a lot of people, similar gameplay or like just slightly tweaked gameplay systems is probably not so big a deal where instead of needing something revolutionary. I can see that the same thing with this like set of games, you know, like I'm not personally invested in Uncharted, so I don't really care what they do with that series. But for me, like I'm pretty interested in like where her journeys are going to take her. Yeah. I'm pretty interested, like it'd be cool to go to, like if we're going to go to Mexico, that sounds pretty exciting. Yeah. If we're going to go, you know, if we end up in like South America or more South America, if we end up in like, well, we're already kind of in like the Indonesia area. If we ended up somewhere in Europe, that would be pretty cool too.
That would be cool. I have a feeling it will, if it's anything like the old Tomb Raiders, it will some point get to Egypt because that's where most of the tombs are and all the things. At some point we could go to Egypt. It'd be cool to do like weird Nordic areas that have a lot of ancient stuff, like, you know. I want it to be around for a while, but I also don't want to see it. 3 years I feel like is a good space. Yeah. 2 years might be okay as well, and I think we're coming up on 3 years now. I want to say this game released in 2015.
It'll be interesting to see because this will probably be the first one. This will be whichever one when this comes out. It'll be the first one that's like developed solely for this generation of consoles. Because Rise of the Tomb Raider is on 360 as well.
Oh wow!
But really? I think the DLC is not.
Yeah, because I mean, so I had the exclusive Xbox deal, and I want to say it was 2015 when Halo 5 came out. And then 2016 was when it released on PS4. Right. I don't think this next one will be exclusive, only because just the fanboys.
I'm not talking about exclusive. Oh. I'm talking about like generation exclusive.
Oh yeah, that'll be good.
So like, I hope that. You know, it's like the same thing with like Shadow of Mordor. Yeah. Was like developed. You know, has like a gimped version for Xbox 360 that definitely like drew resources away. I mean, I think it's a great game. Yeah. But it'll just be interesting to see like what they can squeeze out, especially with the 1X, because there'll be something worth squeezing out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard...
These are great looking games.
Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to try it out, but I've heard the 1X version of Rise of the Tomb Raider is supposed to be like one of the best looking games too, and that's like now a almost 3-year-old game, about a little bit over 2 years. But yeah, man, hopefully we'll get a chance to do more of these backlog chats. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about the game?
Trying to think. Anything else? Killing a bear with a bow and arrow is pretty epic.
That is cool. Yeah, having the not elite, but they have like special animals that they'll give you a notification, like
when you get that ability,
exotic animals around. Like that's cool.
And they always introduce them terrifyingly, where it's like the first time you encounter a bear in that game, it's like, oh my gosh. I played this game for 15 minutes and I'm getting mauled by a bear.
And it's so hard to kill a bear. Even like when I came back and I was almost maxed out and almost beaten the game, like it took a lot of arrows.
I did it in 2 hits.
2 arrows?
3. I did a poison arrow and then 2 regular arrows straight to the face.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
But again, that was me maxed out with my strongest bow, upgraded, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, that upgrade system's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
The game's great, but hopefully we'll be doing these more for some of these older games that we've all gone through and played, and
at least the ones that we recommend that you play.
Yeah,
I would consider this, like I would recommend this game to literally anyone.
Oh, for sure. And it would be funny if we all played a game that was terrible the way through and then talked about it a little bit. But more likely than not, this will only happen for games we liked. because
Yeah.
we're talking about games that backlog chats are for anything that came out more than a year ago.
Yeah.
So probably anything that early 2017 and before. That's not N64 GameCube era.
Yeah.
So or earlier. But yeah. All right. Cool.
Cool.
Peace.
That's to us people that can feel things. It hurts.